Hello and welcome to Speak with Danielle, where I will be asking 6 questions about how lockdown is for our guest. Today's guest is Jan Walmsley. Jan, can you say a little bit about yourself, please?
I am a independent researcher, and I work with people with learning disabilities a lot of the time, and I work mostly with the Open University, which is where I used to work full time, but I left there in 2004, but I still do quite a lot of work with them.
Right, you ready for your first question?
I am, yes.
What have you liked about being in lockdown?
Well, I would say I didn't dislike it to start with. It was very strange not having to make decisions about where I was going and who I was seeing, because I wasn't allowed to go anywhere or see anybody. So, and I actually quite liked that. I think it was quite a relief, because a lot of my life is spent juggling my diary, like between work and seeing my grandchildren and holidays and all sorts of things like that. And suddenly gone. None of those decisions needed to be made. And the other thing is that work sort of stopped, dead.
Yeah.
Everybody down tools, nothing happened, nobody did anything, everybody was waiting for it to end, I think. And so for about 3 or 4 weeks of lovely sunny weather, I didn't need to sit at my computer. I didn't need to respond to email. I think there were emails, but they were nice, friendly, chatty emails. They weren't work emails. And it was, I think it might have been, apart from when I've been away on holiday, the only time in my life when I've kind of not done any work for that amount of time. So in that sense, I liked it. I think if the sun hadn't shone so much, it would have been really horrible.
Yeah.
And the other thing that, well, several things kept me going. One was I suggested a 5 o'clock Zoom call with my grandchildren. I've got 4 and they're 7 and 5. There are 2 7-year-olds and 2 5-year-olds. And we do quizzes. And that we've been doing that ever since. So that's been really nice to see them every day. And we do drawings, and it's quite nice for me because I do the drawings too.
Yeah.
And so that's been lovely. And I have a dog, and the dog is a good reason to get up and go out. And I have a garden, and I live somewhere where it's reasonably easy to go out and have a walk without falling over hundreds of people. So I think I was very fortunate in that, in all those respects, and I didn't catch it, so that's even more fortunate.
That's good.
And none of my family. I think my daughter might have had it, but she didn't suffer. She's a nurse, and she was going to nurse patients with COVID. She's a mental health nurse, but some of the patients she had COVID, even though she wasn't nursing them for COVID. And but otherwise, my family and people close to me have remained healthy. So in that way, that's a very long answer, Danielle, but is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. What haven't you liked about being in lockdown?
Well, I haven't liked not being allowed to go to Wales, because that's where my son and his family live, and we are still not allowed to go to Wales.
Yeah.
I could go to France, I could go to Spain, I think, but I can't go to Wales. And that's been going on, since the end of March, and that's been horrible. And I suppose, although I miss it less than I thought I would, going to cinemas and pubs and restaurants and things, I actually thought I'd really miss that, but I don't think I have missed it that much. But being able to see people get together, you can do it outdoors to a limited extent, but not have people round for a meal or anything. And all those things are. But the other thing I think is knowing how many people are suffering. People being hungry, people being confined to tiny flats with small children, all those things.
Yeah.
So whereas my world might be okay most of the time, outside I know that the world is not okay. It's in a, a lot of people are having a really hard time. So it's hard to feel happy when you know a lot of the rest of the world is suffering.
Have you learned any new skills while being in lockdown?
Not really. I think the only skill I learnt was doing quizzes with my. It's not quite true. The quizzes have been a skill. How do you find something for 7 and 5-year-olds to do every day, which will entertain and
Yeah.
educate them? That's been quite a challenge. I think I've done a few DIY things that I probably, those little rolly things that you put out in the garden to keep I call them bog rolls, but they're bits of wood strung
Yeah.
together in garden centres. And I had some of those, and I would normally have got somebody to put them in, and instead I did it myself, and I felt quite pleased about that.
Oh.
So there are a few little DIY things. But no, I thought I'd be, I don't know, learning how to play my guitar, which I've been meaning to do for many years, and I haven't. No, not really.
Is there any advice you would give someone being in lockdown?
Yes, I think it's make sure you find ways to keep in touch with other people. I mean, this is a blessing, isn't it? This technology is amazing. And I do phone buddying with 6 people with learning difficulties. And the ones who have technology are the ones who are definitely doing the best. And the ones who can do Zoom or WhatsApp is quite useful. I've got a guy who he doesn't particularly want to talk to me on the phone, but we send each other WhatsApps. And Jackie, one of them, has just got a laptop supplied by her self-advocacy group, and they're set up, and we're going to have a Zoom this week. Now, this is the first one we're having. It's been phoned before, but she was so excited that she'd been to her women's group meeting on Zoom. So they moved from not being technology enabled to being technology enabled during lockdown, and it's really bucked her up. So I think we need to start campaigning for it to be a human right for people with learning difficulties to have a Wi-Fi connection and a device, because it is so easy, isn't it? Once you've got it set up, and assuming the Wi-Fi doesn't fail you, it is really easy, and most people can do it. So we need to start campaigning, and I don't know anybody directly, but I understand that some people are in places where there's a Wi-Fi, but they're not allowed to use it. It's just for the staff, and those things I think we've got to change. So that would be my advice: get online and line up your friends to. Oh, I don't know. We have a weekly quiz with some friends, for example, not the church grandchildren one, but just find ways of making sure you're not just by yourself and shut away. That is absolutely crucial, I think.
Yeah. What is the first thing you are going to do when it's all over?
Go to Wales, go and stay with my son as soon as I'm allowed to, which hopefully will be in a couple of weeks, I understand, because definitely that's what I'll do. Sorry, nothing very dramatic, but they live in North Wales, and I'm just dying to see them.
Yeah.
I've seen the ones in London. I've seen them 4 or 5 times, but not the others.
Oh, right. Is there anything you are going to do differently once lockdown is all over?
Yes, I'm not going to travel as much. I am someone who has, yeah, when I had to do my tax return because I'm self-employed for last year, and from September 2018 to September 2019, and to do that I have to put how much I spent on travel and other things, and I couldn't believe how much I was pinging about the country. So I got a project in Wales, funnily enough, a project with all Wales People First. And that was going to involve me driving to Cardiff, driving to Swansea, getting the train to Aberystwyth. And I'm not going to do much of that at all. I'm going to do that online. So for me, that's a huge change. And I'm not going to go on an aeroplane if I can really help it. I've got a very good friend in Australia who's got MS, and she may be coming to Prague to see her family for Christmas, and I might get on an aeroplane to see her because I won't see her otherwise. But it's going to take a lot to get me on a plane again. So quite profound changes actually to my lifestyle.
Yeah.
And also using local shops, which we've used a lot. And they've been very good, and I don't want to stop doing that either.
No. Thank you for coming on to speak with Danielle Jan.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Goodbye.